For years, large cohort studies have linked Mediterranean-style eating to longer life, fewer chronic diseases, and slower cognitive decline. But how, exactly, does food translate into brain protection? A new autopsy study from Rush University Medical Center shines a bright light on one plausible pathway. People who adhered most closely to the MIND diet, a Mediterranean-hybrid designed specifically for brain health, were significantly less likely to show hippocampal sclerosis, HS, at death, a pathological change strongly tied to memory loss and dementia. Below, we unpack the findings, explain what hippocampal sclerosis is, and why it matters, situate the new data among decades of diet and dementia research, and, most important, translate the science into a practical eating pattern you can follow right now. A quick primer: MIND versus Mediterranean versus DASH. The MIND diet, Mediterranean-intervention for neurodegenerative delay, borrows the plant-forward, olive oil-centric base of the Mediterranean diet and the blood pressure-lowering principles of DASH, then tweaks the scoring based on diet dementia evidence. MIND puts special emphasis on leafy greens and berries, and it scores olive oil as the default fat. It also sets clear limits on brain-unhealthy foods such as red meats, butter, solid margarine, cheese, pastries, sweets, and fried, fast food. A typical MIND score gives points for weekly frequencies like leafy greens is greater than or equal to 6 to 7 servings, other vegetables is greater than or equal to 7, berries is greater than or equal to 2, nuts is greater than or equal to 5, beans is greater than or equal to 3, whole grains is greater than or equal to 21, fish is greater than or equal to 1, poultry is greater than or equal to 2, olive oil as primary fat, with wine optional and capped, some versions include it, others omit alcohol entirely. The score subtracts points, or awards none, as intake creeps up for cheese, butter, solid margarine, red or processed meats, pastries, sweets, and fried, fast food. Rush's public scoring rubric lays out the thresholds used in its cohort studies. Historically, observational work has shown that people following MIND more closely experience slower cognitive decline and lower incident Alzheimer's disease, sometimes with risk reductions of approximately 35 to 53% in high adherence groups. The new autopsy study doesn't replace those results, it helps explain them. The new study, fewer signs of hippocampal sclerosis. The Rush team drew on 2 long-running community cohorts that track diet and health over years, then conduct brain autopsies in participants who consent. The researchers examined 809 post-mortem brains from people who had completed repeated food frequency questionnaires for years beforehand. They asked a focused question: was higher MIND diet adherence associated with less hippocampal sclerosis, HS, and related pathology at death? The answer was yes. After adjusting for demographics, education, APOE epsilon 4 status, cardiovascular risk factors, and other potential confounders, participants with the highest MIND scores were significantly less likely to have HS with late NC, see below, and hippocampal neuronal loss. In statistical models, the long-known association between a healthy diet and dementia appeared to be partly mediated by HS, a rare but valuable human tissue window into why diet might matter. 2 caveats are key. First, association isn't causation. People who eat well may also do other brain-healthy things: exercise, social engagement. The Rush models adjusted for several such factors, but unmeasured confounding can't be eliminated. Second, the participants are volunteers in aging studies. Results may not generalize perfectly to all populations. Still, this is among the first human autopsy analyses to connect a brain-protective diet to a specific neuropathology tied to dementia. What is hippocampal sclerosis, and how does it relate to dementia? The hippocampus, a seahorse-shaped structure in the medial temporal lobe, is crucial for forming new memories, spatial navigation, and contextual learning. Hippocampal sclerosis, HS, describes severe neuron loss and gliosis, scar-like changes, in parts of the hippocampus, often the CA1 subfield and subiculum. HS is not the same as classic Alzheimer's plaques and tangles. It frequently co-occurs with a more recently defined pathology, late NC, limbic predominant age-related TDP-43 encephalopathy, a pattern of TDP-43 protein deposition that is common in the oldest old and often mimics Alzheimer's clinically. HS can appear with or without late NC, but the two are strongly linked. Because the hippocampus is the brain's memory workhorse, damage here produces amnestic symptoms, difficulty forming and retrieving recent memories, regardless of whether the root cause is Alzheimer's, late NC, vascular injury, or HS. If a diet pattern is genuinely associated with less HS, that's biologically meaningful, it implies we might be shielding a vulnerable circuit through modifiable lifestyle factors. How could food protect the hippocampus? Researchers have long suspected two broad mechanisms for diet's brain benefits: reducing neuroinflammation and tamping down oxidative stress, both of which are intimately connected to vascular health and metabolic control. The Mind Diet's brain-healthy components cover several mechanistic bases. Leafy greens and AMP vegetables supply folate, vitamin K, carotenoids, and polyphenols that may improve endothelial function and blunt inflammatory signaling. Berries are rich in anthocyanins and other flavonoids shown to enhance synaptic plasticity in animal models and to correlate with slower cognitive decline in observational human data. Nuts and olive oil deliver monounsaturated fats and polyphenols that improve lipid profiles and reduce vascular inflammation. Whole grains and beans support steady glycemic control and feed the gut microbiome, which produces short-chain fatty acids implicated in neuroimmune regulation. Fish, and to a lesser degree, poultry, provide omega-3 fatty acids and quality protein without the saturated fat and heme iron loads found in red, processed meats. HS and late NC may be influenced by microvascular health and protein handling stress in the hippocampus. A diet that improves blood pressure, heritage, lipid profiles, Mediterranean fats, and insulin sensitivity, whole grains, legumes, plausibly reduces cumulative insults to hippocampal neurons and glia over decades. The Rush authors explicitly call for future studies to probe brain biomarkers of neuroinflammation and oxidative stress in relation to diet to clarify these pathways. Where the new study fits in the bigger picture, the autopsy results dovetail with three broad lines of evidence. 1. Prospective cognition studies. Higher mind adherence is linked to slower global cognitive decline and lower incident Alzheimer's disease in older adults, even with only moderate adherence. 2. Mediterranean diet meta-analyses. Across pooled cohorts, greater adherence to Mediterranean eating patterns is associated with lower dementia risk and better aging outcomes. Effect sizes vary, but reductions on the order of approximately 11 to 30% are common. 3. Emerging genetics diet work. Newer studies suggest Mediterranean-style eating may offset some genetic risk, including among carriers of APOE4, the strongest common genetic risk factor for late-onset Alzheimer's disease. The Rush autopsy study adds pathological specificity. The diet dementia story isn't just people who eat well do better on memory tests. The hippocampus itself, one of the chief targets of age-related cognitive disorders, looks healthier in those who ate mind-style for years. Causality remains unproven, but the cumulative picture is getting clearer. What to eat, the Mind Diet. Translated: if you'd like to tilt your plate toward brain protection, here's how the mind pattern maps to everyday choices. The goal isn't perfection, each small move toward these targets appears to help. Aim for these weekly minimums: leafy greens, 6 to 7 plus servings per week, e.g., spinach, kale, arugula, collards. A serving is approximately 1 cup raw or 1/2 cup cooked. Other vegetables, 7 plus servings per week. Prioritize color variety: crucifers, broccoli, cauliflower, carrots, peppers, tomatoes, mushrooms, onions. Berries is greater than or equal to 2 servings per week: blueberries, strawberries, blackberries. Nuts, 5 plus servings per week, a small handful is a serving. Mix unsalted almonds, walnuts, pistachios. Beans, legumes, 3 plus servings per week: lentils, chickpeas, black beans. Whole grains, 3 plus servings per day, approximately equals 21 per week: oats, brown rice, farro, whole wheat pasta, quinoa. Fish, 1 plus serving per week: fatty fish like salmon, sardines, trout preferred. Poultry, 2 plus servings per week, skinless. Olive oil, make it the primary cooking fat and salad dressing base. Keep these to a minimum: red and processed meats, beef, pork, lamb, deli meats, bacon, sausage. Butter, solid margarine, is less than or equal to 1 tablespoon per day in the original scoring. Cheese, the mind score caps this tightly, enjoy rarely. Pastries and sweets, cakes, cookies, candy. Fried, fast foods, limit to occasional treats. Alcohol? The original mind score included wine in moderation, but more recent public health guidance emphasizes that no alcohol is safest. If you already drink, keep it modest. If you don't start for brain health. Many mind recommendations and clinical programs today treat alcohol as optional or omitted. A 1-week mind-friendly sample menu: Day 1, breakfast, oatmeal with blueberries, walnuts, and cinnamon. Lunch, farro kale salad with chickpeas, cherry tomatoes, and olive oil lemon vinaigrette. Dinner, baked salmon, roasted broccoli, and quinoa. Day 2, yogurt parfait with strawberries and ground flax, whole grain toast with olive oil drizzle. Lentil soup, side salad of mixed greens. Olive oil sautéed chicken breast with peppers and onions, brown rice. Day 3, smoothie, spinach, banana, frozen berries, soy milk, handful of almonds. Hummus plate with whole grain pita and crudité. Mushroom barley, risotto, with peas, side arugula salad. Day 4, scrambled eggs with tomatoes and spinach, whole grain toast. Sardine-topped avocado toast, mixed greens. Chickpea and vegetable curry over brown basmati rice. Day 5, overnight oats with blackberries and chia seeds. Quinoa black bean bowl with roasted sweet potatoes and cabbage slaw. Herb roasted chicken thighs, farro pilaf with carrots and celery. Day 6, whole grain waffles with strawberries, plain Greek yogurt. Tuna white bean salad over greens with olives and lemon olive oil dressing. Whole wheat pasta primavera, broccoli, asparagus, mushrooms, olive oil and parmesan sparingly. Day 7, veggie omelette, mushrooms, peppers, onions, sliced orange. Leftover curry or soup, side salad. Grilled trout, sautéed garlicky greens, roasted potatoes, olive oil. Swap in plant-based proteins, tofu, tempeh, seitan, freely. Mind is flexible and can be fully vegetarian or largely vegan with careful planning. Frequently asked questions: is dairy banned? No. Mind scores restrict cheese and butter because of saturated fat and sodium loads, but yogurt or small amounts of low-fat dairy can fit in many versions. The key is overall pattern: plant-forward, olive oil-based, minimally processed. Do I need supplements, omega-3s, curcumin, etc.? Supplements may be useful for individual deficiencies, but the most robust evidence for dementia risk reduction is dietary pattern, not single pills. If you rarely eat fish, an algal oil omega-3 can cover DHA, EPA. Discuss with your clinician. How fast will I notice benefits? Cognition changes slowly. In cohort studies, advantages accrue over years. But people often report better energy and metabolic markers, BP, lipids, within months. Intermediate wins that themselves protect the brain. If my genetics are bad, does diet still matter? Yes. Newer studies suggest Mediterranean-style eating may soften APOE4 related risk. Genes load the gun, environment pulls the trigger. Diet is a lever you control. What the study does not show, it's not proof of causation. Even with careful adjustments, observational autopsy studies cannot prove that diet caused the lower HS rates. Randomized trials with biomarker endpoints are needed. It's not only about the hippocampus. The brain ages as a network. Diet also affects vascular health, insulin resistance, blood pressure, lipids, and microglia, astrocyte signaling, all relevant to dementia trajectories. It doesn't endorse all Mediterranean equally. The mind modifications, especially greens and berries, and stricter limits on high saturated fat foods, may matter. The supporting cast, sleep, movement, and social engagement. Diet is one pillar. Brain health rests on multiple pillars that interact. Move daily, ideally with both aerobic and resistance training. Exercise increases brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, and supports hippocampal neurogenesis. Protect sleep. Poor sleep drives neuroinflammation and lymphatic dysfunction. Diet can't fully offset chronic sleep loss. Connect. Social and cognitive engagement build cognitive reserve, helping the brain cope with pathology. Manage vascular risks. Hypertension, diabetes, and smoking raise dementia risk. DASH and Mediterranean patterns directly improve these. A mind-style plate complements, rather than replaces, these habits. Practical steps to start, and stick with, mind eating 1. Choose 1, always, and 1, avoid. For many, the easiest, always, is greens daily, a high impact, avoid, is fried fast food. 2. Stop your defaults. Keep olive oil, frozen berries, canned beans, mixed nuts, oats, brown rice, frozen veggies, and sardines or salmon on hand. 3. Batch once, eat thrice. Make a big pot of lentil soup or grain bean salad on Sunday, reuse all week. 4. Swap, don't subtract. Replace butter with olive oil, white bread with whole grain, bacon with smoked paprika on roasted vegetables. 5. Track your mind score for 2 weeks. Use the rush scoring rubric to see where you're light, often berries, beans, and where you're heavy, cheese, pastries. 6. Personalize. If you hate fish, lean harder on nuts, olive oil, and legumes. If you're lactose intolerant, prioritize leafy greens and fortified plant milks for calcium. A note on affordability and access: Mediterranean-style eating isn't synonymous with imported products or pricey produce. Frozen greens and berries retain nutrients and cost less. Canned beans, tuna, sardines, and tomatoes are cheap anchors. Whole grains in bulk are economical. Community programs, SNAP-eligible markets, and culturally familiar recipes can make mind principles work in any cuisine. Beans and greens are universal. The horizon: what researchers will probe next. The Rush team explicitly calls for studies that connect dietary patterns to brain tissue biomarkers of neuroinflammation and oxidative stress, beyond HS. Expect to see trials that randomize participants to mind-style versus controlled diets and track CSF markers, PET imaging, or advanced MRI readouts alongside cognitive testing. More work disentangling latent HS, Alzheimer's pathology, and microvascular disease, and how diet influences each trajectory. Studies of precision nutrition, testing whether people with certain genetic profiles, APOE epsilon 4 or variants in lipid, metabolic pathways, get extra benefit from specific diet tweaks. Given the lack of disease-modifying drugs that prevent dementia, even modest risk reductions from lifestyle are meaningful at population scale. Bottom line: a healthy plate won't cure dementia, but the weight of evidence now supports a simple, actionable message. Eating mind-style is associated with lower dementia risk, slower cognitive decline, and now, thanks to human autopsy data, less hippocampal sclerosis at death. That's a plausible biological bridge between what we eat and how our memory circuits age. The protective foods are neither exotic nor restrictive: leafy greens, colorful vegetables, berries, nuts, beans, whole grains, olive oil, and fish, poultry, with red, processed meats, butter, cheese, sweets, and fried foods kept occasional. While causation isn't proved, converging evidence, from autopsy pathology to prospective cohorts and even genetic risk analyses, makes a strong case for moving your diet in this direction, starting today. Choose one mind target this week, say, greens daily or berries twice, and build from there. Your hippocampus may thank you decades from now.